What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I thought I would do something a little bit different. So I was looking around my watch collection and all my watch gear and thought I have a lot of different NATOs, a lot of different brands and styles and material. And so maybe it would be helpful if I did kind of an ultimate buyer's guide to buying NATO straps. And I realize I've oversold the video already, and I do not have half of what's available out there. I'm sure there are major brands and styles that I'm missing, but I thought this is a pretty good picture of kind of what you can get going from $1 to $70, $80, and kind of everywhere in between. So this is just based on my experience. I have owned other NATOs, other brands and styles, but this is just what I'm going with. So I know there's going to be commenters, saying that there are other things available to check out. Absolutely, there are. But this will give you an idea if you're just getting into NATOs or just getting into watches, kind of what you get going from $1 to 70, 80 bucks. Can you get away with a $10 Amazon strap, or do you need a $32 toxic shiznet? The answer to that is yes, you do. But before we get started, wristwatch check. So because we're doing a NATO video, I figured I would wear leather. So this is the Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic, just an amazing watch. Love this guy. All right, so apologies ahead of time. I'm sure the table is going to get fairly messy. Tried to arrange these in a way where I could have the prices on the table with them, but there were just too many straps. So it'll probably become a mess, but there you go. All right, let's start at the beginning, or at the higher end, right? So Erika's originals, so I'm putting a price of 70 to 80 bucks. I think they used to be cheaper than that, but they are now, I think, almost $80. I think maybe 70 6 months to a year ago, but so I don't really know why they're going up. But this is the kind of basic MN Erika strap. These are custom made, so you order and then they make it. This is made to your wrist size. You can customize everything about this, from the color to the stitching, the contrast stitching, the stripe here, etc. And so this is a pretty basic style strap. Well, now it is, I guess, pretty widely known, but I think Erika's made this popular. So you can obviously see where my watch fits there. So you pull this through, and this just latches right on there, which I'm not going to attempt to do on camera. And I realize this and the watch Steward aren't really NATOs, but I'm going to include them here anyway, because typically if you're looking for a NATO, this is a solid option, and this pretty much hits all the kind of check boxes for a NATO and why you would need one. So this is this kind of parachute material, stretchy, slightly stretchy. And so so I think Erika's made these popular now. You can get them in all kinds of different, from all kinds of different companies. You can get, Chinese knockoffs, which I have tried. And the biggest difference with a Chinese knockoff, I don't have one on the table, but it is super stretchy. So this has a little bit of stretch, but it's fairly tight. So it's stretchy enough, but it's not going to, it's just not super stretchy. The Chinese knockoffs are really stretchy, and the hardware sucks. The hardware it's much bigger, much bulkier than the Erikas. So with the Erikas, what you're getting for your money is you're getting a lot of the details. You're getting a very nice buckle here, which is deep enough. You're getting this kind of really cool branding right here. You're getting just the kind of handmade, you're paying for that, like this is a handmade item just for you that you get to customize, like it's not manufactured, that kind of thing. You can see I have worn this one a lot, so I wear this on my Seiko Turtle and my Seiko SKX, and obviously you can see where it's picked up some wear. And so you're getting a very good material. The Erikas do have a tendency to fray on the outside, which I think actually adds something to the kind of the character of it. But it's a very comfortable watch strap. I won't say the most comfortable, but it's very comfortable. Material like this can support a large watch very well. So that's one of the things. You're getting a very comfortable strap that, basically sits right up against the skin, except for this very thin material right here. So you don't have two layers. But so that's what you're getting there. All right, I got to hurry up with this video, or it's going to be all day. All right, next up, so it's taking a step down, about half the cost, less than half the cost. So you have a toxic NATO, and this is the shiznet. So this is kind of, I don't know if you want to call this a seatbelt NATO. I think that is what you'd call it. But you have this very nice weave. and this is called their Shiznet. So this is about $32. Definitely their most popular one. Let me see if it has branded hardware. Nope, just says 20 millimeters. It's one of the tough things about Toxic NATOs is there's no branded hardware, so it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. With the Toxics, you can really tell because of the weave, and I'll highlight that in a second when I go through this one. But I've owned several different seatbelt NATOs before. The Toxic is the only one that I would ever want to own. I have owned the BluShark, Alpha Shark, I think it is. And a lot of we'll talk about it when we get here, but the thing that I love about the Shiznet is that it wears very nicely, and I mean it wears down very nicely, so it picks up some nice character. You can see, slight fraying, but it's just kind of, the color wears very nicely. You can see, I mean, this has been worn and loved, but it just wears in really, really nicely, and it feels super comfortable. Honestly, if I'm gonna pick a NATO here, for a 20 millimeter watch like my Hamilton, I want a Shiznet. A Shiznet is just the strap that you want to kind of keep in your back pocket for a watch. It's a fantastic strap, available in a lot of different colors, and I think well worth the $30. All right. Watch Steward Minimalist. So Watch Steward has many different straps and really two basic styles. The first one that is a lot like the Erika is not exactly, but this is the one, I've had both. This is the one I have right now, and this is the minimalist strap, and so I wanted to highlight this one. So this is about $25, a lot of different colors, and basically this works similar to the Erikas, but you attach one of the sides here. So with the Erikas and with NATO straps in general, the benefit is if you break a spring bar, the watch won't come flying off your wrist. Like if I broke a spring bar here, the watch would come off because there's nothing, between there's nothing keeping this connected here. You know what I'm saying? All right. You have the same issue here, right? So this takes away all the benefits of a NATO because you are attaching the spring bar. You're attaching this to the watch here, and then you're running the other side up and running it under the spring bar. And so if the one spring bar pops off, you're done, right? But the benefit of this is a super soft, much softer than this, super soft material, and he actually makes softer ones. But this is, I think, the perfect balance of being soft and stretchy, but still being able to support a large watch. I wear, the turtle on this one all the time, and it does just fine. You can see it's just not a ton of material. I mean, that is the whole strap. And so you're getting similar hardware made in the USA, which is an awesome thing. And you're getting a little bit shorter buckle there, which, is more visually an issue of mine, but is actually comfortable, and I've never really had an issue. But so you're getting kind of a lot of the visual benefits of this and the comfort of something like that, but you're paying less than half the cost, although you are giving up some of the security of having, if your spring bar breaks. Now, you can get into a debate about how likely that is. I don't think I've ever had a spring bar break, but there you go. All right, Toxic NATO. So $21. So made by I can't remember if there's a name for the Toxic NATO, but it's just the basic NATO strap. So it's $11 cheaper than the Shiznet. And the difference is the weave. It's not a seatbelt It's not a seatbelt weave. It is a very soft kind of nylon weave. Visually, it's going to be kind of hard to tell that, but take my word for it. It is very comfortable. You don't have any hard edges, which is, I think, the biggest difference with the Toxic NATOs and everything else. And the other biggest difference is the hardware. And so one of the things that you'll see as we go down the line is the biggest price that you pay in general is the hardware. Toxic NATO, I think, has some of the nicest hardware, nicest looking and functioning. It's just robust enough to kind of do what it needs to do, but not heavy. And so you have this kind of squared off hardware, which is really nice. You have this very nice detail where you have this not rounded corner, but kind of chamfered corner, which is really, really nice. And it tucks very nicely. And so when you, wear your watch and you have the excess material and you go to, well, I'm not going to do it, but if you run it through and you go to tuck it back under, it does that very nicely. But this one is surprisingly soft for what it is. If you look at this side by side with the Shiznet, yeah, these are getting annoying already. you look at this side by side with the Shiznet, you can definitely see the difference in the weave. You can see that this one's softer and sleeker, and it's definitely shinier. This one is just nice and matte. It has a very nice feel to it, and so I think for 20 bucks, you can't really go wrong with a Toxic. All right, let's put that back. All right, BluShark. So this was kind of my intro into NATOs. And BluShark is an interesting company too. They have a lot going for them in terms of the combinations you can get, the different color patterns and things like that. They have, you know, all different measure of watch of NATO straps down to, I forget, 16 millimeter, maybe it's 18 to 22. But they have a lot of different patterns, and so I love this one. This is kind of a Bond style, but it's an olive and black, which I think looks, you know, fantastic on the Hamilton as well as some other military style watches. $18 for the BluShark, and you are getting, I think, excellent hardware. Branded right there, BluShark. And I like the design of the hardware a lot. I think it's kind of just like the Toxic, where it's robust enough to do what it needs to do without doing too much else. The Toxic is definitely nicer hardware, but this is probably second. What you're missing here and where you're giving up your money is that this is the weave on this and the nylon is more plasticky feeling, and it's more uncomfortable. I've had some issues with some rough edges right here. I have another BluShark that I love the color of. I would wear it all the time, but it's just not very comfortable. And so you get a little bit more of this kind of sewing, and I don't know if there's glue back there, but you just feel this one a lot, you know, a lot more than you would on your Toxic. I'll put these side by side. You can see it's a similar weave, but you can see this one's shinier, more plasticky almost. This one's softer and more like cotton. That's probably the best way I can describe it. All right, yeah, these are not, there we go. All right, this is an interesting one. All this stuff I branded just Amazon or eBay. I didn't bother putting in the company name because honestly, they're just different resellers of the same Chinese straps. So you can find, you know, if you search NATO, Zulu, that kind of thing, you can find similar ones. It's all pretty much the same stuff. This is branded a seatbelt NATO, sold $18 on Amazon. This is in the Bond colorway. I think the benefits of this, very, very vibrant colors. You know, you get what is, I think, a very nice looking, although a little bit shiny, which kind of comes with the seatbelt territory. And kind of what I said before is, like, at this point, you're really starting to lose out on things like the hardware. This hardware may look okay to you. It's very shiny. It looks very cheap in person, I think. The buckles, I mean, it does what it needs to do. It's a little clunky. It doesn't look very sophisticated. It looks a little bit, I mean, you swap the hardware on this, and that's a fantastic looking NATO, but you know, if you put this side by side with my other seatbelt strap here, you can just tell the difference. There's a finesse and kind of an elegance to the Toxic Shiznet, although it is called the Shiznet. I'll say in the same sentence that it is elegant. But there's just, you can see with the hardware there that it's just more refined. And also the spacing is much better on the Shiznet. You can see that you have, you know, about the same area to put the watch, but I think that the spacing on the keepers is done a little bit better, the spacing between the last keeper and the buckle here. And if I put these side by side, you can see, you know, the Shiznet's just a hair longer. I believe it's also a hair thicker. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit thicker. And here's where you can really tell the difference between kind of when I was saying this one picks up some character. You know, some people may say this is a downside. You see this fraying here. But honestly, I think it just makes it more comfortable. You know, I think good items, whether they're shoes, leather goods, whatever, they wear very well. And this one definitely does that. I just think it's more comfortable and more elegant, but there you go. You know, obviously a good budget option for a seatbelt NATO for sure. I've had the seatbelt BluShark, was not a huge fan of it for kind of the similar reasons, just not as comfortable as something like a Shiznet. All right, here's one that you may have trouble finding, $15. Bought this one a long time ago, probably 8-10 years ago. This is a, let's see, a Maritag Zulu. And when you look up Zulu now, you're going to find a lot of these with the rounded hardware. But this was originally sold as kind of the original, I believe, military Zulu. And it's got this kind of wraparound keeper up here, and the only hardware is the buckle. This is a fine strap, I guess. The issues that I've had is that everything is glued down. You don't have any stitching, and so I bought 2 of these. I only have one to show you because it fell apart, and the only way to fix it is to stitch it yourself. Hardware's not all that great, and honestly, this is another thing you can kind of see. This one does not wear very well. It does not age well. You can see this black kind of nylon, which is a very slick, shiny nylon. It's turned white. It's not really, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's not super comfortable, but it just doesn't look very good as it ages. Whereas a lot of these kind of pick up some character as they age. But doesn't matter. These are hard to find anyway. All right, now into the Amazon stuff. So Amazon waffle strap. So a waffle strap is just a different type of weave. So you can see this. BluShark has the Orca series. A lot of companies have a waffle weave strap. I think it looks really cool. I love this color. This is kind of flat, dark earth. And this is, I guess, branded a Zulu. This was branded as a 5-ring, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 on the underside. Now, I cut mine down because I didn't like the way that looked, just to make it a little bit lighter strap. So I think for $10, you're getting a really nice, I like the material a lot. I think you're getting fine nylon. What you're really losing is the hardware. So, you know, it looks okay. It's not my favorite. I don't really like the rounded rings. But the real issue that I've had is that this buckle right here sits so proud. There's no recess here for the buckle to sit in. Let me grab, I mean, I think all the other ones have something like this. So where you're not proud of the surface, or at least not by much. This one, you sit up there and you can see it's worn away because there have been several times where when this thing is wrapped around my wrist, I put my wrist on a table and it scratches the table because it sticks out so far. It's really soured me from wearing this strap, which otherwise I think looks great. The other thing is I don't know, to me the buckles here just kind of look weird and cheap on a lot of watches just because the aesthetic doesn't really match a lot of watches, but there you go. And similarly with something like this, I've gotten asked a lot about this strap. I just found it on eBay, not eBay, Amazon, about $10. But this matches the SKX 007 very well. But this is a basically just this strap without the waffle weave. So it's a little bit more rigid. It's a little bit more plasticky feeling, less comfortable. It just feels very stiff on the wrist. These edges kind of hurt the hand. This one I think is fairly soft. This feels more like a BluShark basic Nato. Let me put these side by side. You can see very, very similar weaves. Really similar, actually. I didn't realize how similar until I just put them up together. And so really you're getting about the same quality nylon, but you're getting $10, and what you're paying for is, or what you're not paying for is the hardware there. And these have brushed hardware, which doesn't really go with a lot of watches to me. So it's a cool color, but just doesn't really work for me. So there you go. And then $1 eBay Chinese. So you can find these shipped from China for $1. And the benefit of this is you can try out all kinds of different color combinations. And you can buy 20 of these, $20 and have a different strap, almost all month. And so, the benefit is that. The benefit is also these are super comfortable. So if you look at the weave between this and like your 10 times more expensive, I don't know if you can tell that, but this one is a lot softer. I mean, this honestly feels a lot like the Toxic Nato. If I do kind of the test, I'm not even going to say what I want to call this test because it's not appropriate, but if I kind of hold these, you can see that this one is more flimsy, not quite as rigid. So I think the Toxic does a good job of giving you that softness while not compromising on what it can hold. This one is very soft, super, super comfortable. However, it's also incredibly cheaply made. You have the cheapest hardware I've ever seen. you have very, very bad quality control. You can see that doesn't even fit in the hole there. Sometimes I've actually had straps, I think in the same batch that I bought this one from, where this didn't even connect all the way. And so it was just sitting there just about, and it just popped through one day. And so terrible quality control to the point that you could lose your watch. Which isn't great. And then I have had to restitch some of these. I think when it came, you can see it was originally stitched over here. I think I had to move it because there wasn't enough room for the watch, but I moved it back and stitched it myself. I don't really wear this anymore, but I did love the comfort of it. It's a great, throw it on at night kind of strap if you want a color change and you don't want to have to pay for that. It's fine. The other thing you'll see is that the holes here have a tendency to wear out. I don't think you can see it on this one as much, but maybe right. It's just really hard to get a picture of that. But the holes wear out. They pull a lot more than you're going to get with something like this. Honestly, all of these have held up just fine. That's one thing people harp about a lot with Natos, is that you got to, check the kind of hole configuration and if they're reinforced or not. I have conflicting views on that. I mean, honestly, there's some reinforced holes. Like, I think these are glued. And it just makes it feel, it catches to the point that, like, on some of these, I think this one maybe, I'm sorry, you can't see what I'm pointing to. I think this one, I've had to take sandpaper and knock it down because the plastic or the glue or whatever they're using to seal those holes is just very sharp. And this one I can feel definitely when I run my hand on it. The Toxic, I don't think reinforces. I mean, maybe he does something to reinforce those. So, I mean, you do see the wear a little bit more. You can definitely see that's pulling. But I've never had any issues because it's a thicker material. I don't know that there's any reinforcement on this either. And yet it's held up just fine. At least I can't feel it. If there is some, it's done so well that I'm running my hand on both sides and I can't feel anything. So a lot of people are big on that, but it's honestly never really been one of the things that I look for. So in summary, what do I look for when I look for a Nato? Very similar to my cutter carry videos, right? I want something that carries very well. I want something that's very comfortable on the wrist because, ultimately I can like the way something looks a lot, like this, to be honest. Or this, I think the color on this is nice. Or this, actually, I love the way this looks. But if it doesn't carry on the wrist very well, if it doesn't wear comfortably, I'm not gonna wear it. That's why I find myself time and time again going back to this guy, going back to this guy, going back to this guy. And honestly, between these two, I go to the Watch Steward more often than the Erikas because it is more comfortable. The Watch Steward, I think, is more rugged. So if I'm doing like an outdoor thing, I took this on the Appalachian Trail. That's what I would want there. But honestly, I would say these three get the most wear. Well, probably these four get the most wear. I think with Nato straps, you do get what you pay for. I would almost eliminate all of these if I had to, and have a couple of these real cheap ones just to switch things up sometimes. Buy, a couple shiznits in colors that can be reused, like gray, blue, black, things like that. And then maybe one or two elastic style straps just to see what you like. But hope this has been helpful. I'm sure there are questions that I didn't answer. Maybe I can do a follow-up at some point. But hopefully this just gives you kind of a quick start guide to buying Natos and kind of what you get for different prices. Feel free to comment below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.